The title of this podcast is When You Accept the Events That Cause You Suffering, You Create an Opening for All the Gifts That Are on the Other Side. So I'll give one quick example of exactly what I mean. Now, the key is you have to be working on yourself. Most people spend a lot of time trying to control and go to work on other people or other things outside of themselves, the external world. That's a dead end because the key to changing people is with them. But when you go to work on yourself, oh man, you're talking about a high return on investment. It is minimal cost, some cases a little bit more cost, but it's 100% return. It is beautiful. Whereas the other way of working on other people, man, the cost is so high. And oftentimes there's little to no return. But in this case, when you work on yourself, when it comes to suffering, man, it creates this incredible opening for all the gifts that are on the other side. So what's the example? The example is that I had a meeting today with some senior leadership at the hospital that I work at. And it was my first time at this meeting. And I wasn't nervous or anything like that. I rarely get nervous when I'm doing a presentation or anything anymore. So that rarely happens. But in this particular case, I certainly was not nervous, and I prepared for it. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. And I was looking forward to it. So what happened is I was on the agenda to give a 30-minute presentation. I didn't see the agenda. I just knew what time I was going to present. And I was not attached to the time, thankfully, because of the practice or the duration of how long I was going to present, which was 30 minutes. But as the meeting went on and other people presented and provided updates at this high level meeting, it started to decrease the time that was allotted for me. And as I'm, setting my timer and reducing it so I would end on time, from 30 minutes to 25 minutes to 20 minutes to 15, I'm just being with the moment. Like whatever happens, great. If they table my presentation, that's cool too. Whatever happens, I'm good with. So my practice was strong, and I'm grateful for that. Not getting ahead of myself because I know something could challenge me, and then I'm right back there at the edge dealing with another event, which I will use to my advantage and learn from, so to create another opening of gifts. So my time continued to diminish during this meeting, inside I smiled for a second, because I remember 4 years ago, I had a completely different reaction to something that happened that I was asked to speak at. So at Mayo Clinic, we have a med school. And I was asked to be part of their first day, their orientation, where all the leaders come in, they speak, they present on all manner of topics, the curriculum, what the next 4 years of med school are going to be about, how elated we are to have them there, as well as what the expectations are. And I speak about well-being. So in this particular case, I was asked to present at this orientation. And I was under the impression that I would have 30 minutes to talk. At least that's what I remember I was being told. So I created this slide deck for 30 minutes. I included videos and everything. And I sent it, ahead of time, because they requested to see it beforehand. And I sent it, and they said, "Keith, great job, fantastic job. It's 30 minutes. The doctor would like you to cut it down to 5 minutes." I said, "What? 5 minutes? Like what?" I mean, resisting all kind of suffering going on inside. So I said, okay. I took another shot at it. I cut it down to 17 minutes. Person couldn't have been nicer. "Keith, fantastic job. Love how you went through and edited most of it, and you cut it down from 30 minutes down to 17. We still needed to be 5 minutes." I'm like, what? Like, okay, suffering, increasing. Took another stab at it. Cut it down to 11 minutes. Again, "Keith, great job. Thank you for working on this. We need to be 5 minutes." So it wasn't until I accepted it that it was 5 minutes that the suffering ended. But this went on for a day of just inside, just like, man, the whole power of the message, behind what I want to deliver is going to be diluted now. I got all these other aspects of it that I want to include that I think are necessary. I was doing all of this. And I forgot what my job was, to serve, whatever form that takes, period. Like to let go, to let go. And I wasn't letting go, so I was suffering. But because I stayed with it and didn't throw down some kind of ultimatum, like, listen, I can't do this in 30 minutes, and so I need to talk to the doctor. I didn't do any of that, to try to get him to understand. I didn't do any of that. I finally just worked on myself, working on myself, going back and forth, suffering. I'm doing the practice, so I know there's a gift on the other side, but man, I cannot see it. There's a promise of one there somewhere. So finally, I got to acceptance of 5 minutes. And I did the 5 minutes on that day. And the gift was today when I went to a meeting and my time was cut down to, I don't know, 12 minutes from 30. And I got everything in, said everything that I felt was that I needed to say. And based on feedback, it was well received. But again, that's an example of using an event that could cause suffering or does cause suffering, and to see it as a gift. If you can work on yourself along the way, it will come up as a gift later for you. A gift is on the other side. But had I suppressed it, this event, had I argued against it, had I made a big deal about, the event 4 years ago at the medical school or today, had I done that, that would have only left the event in me. I would not have released it or worked through it. Instead, I didn't ask anything of anyone outside of me. I didn't ask them to change, their requirement. I didn't ask them to modify the time or give me more time today. I didn't do any of that. I just accepted what was the reality of the situation. I have less time. Let's go. And so I encourage you that any event that causes you suffering, there's a bigger picture here. Like, work on yourself through the entire thing. Make it not about the event. Make it about your growth. I don't care what it is. Make it about you growing. And that part of you that is resisting, that is dug in, that is trying to defend and make it a big deal. As Michael Singer says, you want to take that part of you, as a wise person does, and hold it out to the world, and let the world take a piece of it until there's nothing left. And what's left is your higher self. And so I wanted to be a person that when life shows up and I have less time to present, I can handle that. The Keith before couldn't handle that. I want to be able to handle that and remember that I'm here to serve and sprinkle kindness. So, thank you.